Alright, pick up with the last video. So talking about the Miss Marvel Mutant miniseries, where you have Leela Chainley taking on Spiral, fighting her for a bit. A little pop show stuff here, and then eventually she gets whisked away, and then she reunites with Red Dagger, and this sadly will lead to getting toward the end of the series, where she's in the run with Red Dagger. Almost like these two have a thing for each other. It doesn't really go anywhere at all because I don't remember Red Dagger pop up after this miniseries wrapped up. This was the first time he's featured since Magnificent Miss Marvel miniseries. Still looks like we have a zombie Cyclops, but don't worry, he's not dead. Maybe it's like I think this is a previous version of who did die that was brought back, and then we have Camilla and Red Dagger making out. And then we have Cannonball, Nightcrawler, Jubilee show up here because there's one person who's obsessed with finding Camilla Khan. And then during this fight, her body starts to fall apart. Yes. And then the Inhumans show up. They're thinking, wait a minute, the Inhumans? Which ones? Medusa, Karnak, and Lockjaw. Who I should point out, though, these three have not been seen since the Death of the Inhumans miniseries by Donny Coates. Yes, when I remember when this issue came out, and when I saw these guys have returned, I'm like, wait a minute. What are you guys doing here? Because here's the weird thing. Like, Marvel decided to step away from featuring mutants as heavily as they were for like several years. I guess this was basically like, oh yeah, she started as a human. And the only reason why they're here is to fix her powers. Okay, so they were featured in Fantastic Four, I think in flashbacks. In the case of Medusa, yeah, they featured mostly in minor roles. Featured a little bit in that book, but the previous appearance prior to this book was, let's see, not in this book in particular, no. Was it Marvel Age 1000? Maybe they have featured this book here. Says there, Medusa was featured in this book. I'm trying to look see where she's featured. Okay, so she was featured as a background character. Looks like she was also featured in Devil's Reign Omega. I'm guessing a flashback, right? So, could you probably say this is the first pop appearance Dead Humans? Yes, even though the feature Fantastic Four. So I would say it's the first. You could say it's the first actual appearance of these group of characters. Let's see. Since the Fantastic Four wedding special. Yeah. And they're featured in these 2 issues. And then, when this series wraps up, they're next featured as a cameo in Spider-Boy number 10. Yes. By the way, the book is still being published. Yeah. So, if you want to put it correctly, this appearance is the first proper in-universe appearance that's not a cameo since Death in Humans. Yeah. And the only reason we're here is to straighten out her physiology. So, they take her to someplace. I would think New Atalan. Because, it's their frickin' home. Because, it's an island off the coast of New York. No. They don't take them there. Take her there for some reason. Not really sure the reason for this at all. It's like... Yeah, so... After calming her down, they put her in this chamber to expose the marmots to sort of fix her, and she gets basically an appearance here, I think, by her sister. And then she gets fixed. Yeah. Now, the whole thing about her powers has not been thoroughly explained. It's like she's a mutant and inhuman at the same time. So they fix her up, and then she fights the bad guy, defeats her, reunites with Bruno for the first time since their last ongoing series concluded. And that's it. That's it for this book. Of course, she featured next in the pages of a book known as, well, NYX. A book that was not popular with a lot of people. It was by far one of Marvel's lowest selling books. Written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Score. Not terrible writers per se, but I read the book and I kind of agree the book is terrible. And people tend to be asking Marvel this: why bring back NYX? It makes no sense. And it's all about Mix Marvel's acceptance as a mutant. And that's the premise of the book. And for a lot of readers, that is not interesting to read. And no wonder the book got canceled. Because no one liked it. I don't think it was all that terrible. Just that not as good as their books. But as for the Inhumans themselves, they're not featured after this. Aside from a flashback, it's like, since Death in Humans, what have they done since the miniseries wrapped up? Mostly put background appearances and being very rarely featured. And that's not the Inhumans' fault. Oh no, it is not their fault. It's the fact that, this is my personal theory, I think because Marvel writers are not forced to include the Inhumans, they're like, nah, we're not going to feature them because we're not forced to. It's like, I would say some of the writers probably could have, I'm just theorizing about this. When the whole forced Inhumans push was happening, my guess, some writers were willing to feature Inhumans, would have no problem, like, okay. And other writers like, now I want to feature them. But my guess is that to remain that they have to feature a human story somehow, despite the fact it really makes no frickin' sense at all, but with the human stuff. But their creation of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, I'm like, why not feature them more? Nope. I guess writers at Marvel just do not care to feature a good group of characters like humans. Like, it is, like, I'm not pointing the blame at the Inhumans. They're not at fault for their push they got from 2013 to about 2017. It's not their fault. I'm not blaming the characters. I blame the writers either for basically their push. I blame Marvel editorial for that. And probably also, you can also blame them for not featuring them. So, and also the fact that this whole push was Ike Perlmutter's idea. Yeah. Next up was a really good miniseries, Stargirl Lost Children, which contains the Stargirl Spring Break one-shot and the Stargirl Lost Children miniseries, which is 6 issues. Now, this book also has a bit of a retcon in the book, where, by the way, the book is written by Jeff Johns. Artwork here is done by Todd Newnick, who also has a cover right here. So, basically, Miko talking to her brother, thinking her brother is with the Golden Age Green Arrow, is like, no, that's me. And you're like, wait a minute. How is it that the present-day Green Arrow is also the one from the past? Publication-wise, it's been Oliver Queen since the 40s. So, they explained it that the reason why that he's someone included part of Seven Soldiers, despite the fact that a lot of the stuff, that basically, in a way, this book restores his status with the Seven Soldiers victory because post-Crisis, there is nothing about him mentioned related to Seven Soldiers. This retcons him back in. So it is explained that he and Roy Harper were deposited in the 40s by the Clock King. Yes, I kid you not. Classic Green Arrow villain, William Talkman, the Clock King, dropped them off in the 40s and basically have their adventures in the Golden Age. So, in a way, this is basically bringing in the Golden Age Green Arrow into current continuity, but establishing that the Golden Age one was always this Green Arrow. And of course, she does ask the question, why did you have a beard back then? And his explanation is, because villains have beards, the heroes are clean shaven. That's in-universe explanation. That's a good in-universe explanation of why Green Arrow was clean shaven in the 1940s. The actual reason why, because he didn't have one. He didn't have a beard until the 70s. As for if in fact that they counted the appearance he made from the 60s to 80s, if they count that part of like time travel stuff, I don't know. They just say that the Golden Age thing, they kind of retcon that here. And then, I kid you not, right after the whole explanation with that, then the Crimson Avenger shows up. And not any Crimson Avenger, the one Jeff Johns created for the JSA book, who, after the book wrapped up, this character was never seen again. Nobody saw this character until this book came out. And Courtney is featured in the book too, and the whole thing is like, because of course they're partners and of course charged with the power. I like the fact that you have basically Jeff Johns writing this again, because after all, he did create Courtney, so of course basically write her book. We have something with the Crimson Avenger. Of course, Pat Dugan basically is brought to pass. Of course, Courtney is there because she's just there. And then we have our unit of the Seven Soldiers victory. We have Green Arrow, Vigilante, of course, Gregory Sanders, and Justin, the Shining Knight, which I don't think he was featured prior to this Spring Break one-shot. Let me take a look here. No, that's not that one. No. Because you have the Shining Knight here with a beard. Because it's kind of interesting to feature the Shining Knight here. Because one feature part of this was the one Grant Morrison created, the one who's a woman who also cosplays as a male. Now this is Justin Arthur. Okay, so he actually made his first appearance in the Legends of Tomorrow #4. Yeah, that's who was featured. You're thinking, what's our featured Legends tomorrow? I'm lucky right now to see what he's featured in, because he's not featured in the Middleman stuff. Nope. Okay, so he was featured in as a statue. I mean, could you probably say his first prop appearance was his book? Not really. He was also featured in other books per se, but you could say yes, this is kind of his first prop appearance. And we also feature in here the Crimson Avenger, which of course his first appearance actually was in Dark Knight's Death Metal, and then he got killed off in this book. We also had the Star Spangled Kid, aka Sylvester Pemberton, who actually did that in this book too in a flashback. He made his first post-Flashlight appearance in Infinite Frontier #0. Stripesy, I think he made his first appearance in The Pages of America, like toward the end of the book. Yeah, Jeff Johns brought him in. Actually, no, it was Matt Knott. Yeah, Matt Knott. The Vigilante, Greg Saunders. He was first featured in, he was basically brought in by the Shade. The comic anyways. Yeah, believe it or not, James Robinson brought this guy in. You're thinking, really? Yeah, he was featured in one issue of this book, of The Shade. He was also featured in Dark Knight's Death Metal, then Frontier #0, and of course his feature is Suicide Department of Flashback. Then he's featured in this book. Yeah. And then we feature Wing. Yes, Wing. Who... This book here was not his introduction, it was in Frontier #0. So... they kind of in a way brought in a little more proper with this episode of Victory. So, this is the first episode of Victory features since in Frontier #0, because in Frontier #0 brought a lot of stuff to canon continuity, and this is one of them. And we also have this person known as the Child Mender, who is basically like they featured this person here as they feature here as an illusion, but basically that they set her up here. William Tuck, which I believe the first time I ever saw this guy was actually in Deathstroke, but believe it or not, his first appearance post-Flashpoint was actually in Batman: The Dark Knight Volume 2. Yes, Paul Jenkins and David Finch brought him in the current continuity, and they featured in Deathstroke Rebirth, Deathstroke #1. He was also featured in Harley Quinn, DC Saved by Belle Reve in this one-shot. And then he made an appearance in Stargirl Lost Children. So... then they feature as a Vision, they featured the Dark Knight Returns Green Arrow. Dan the Dynamite. We also first appearance of a character associated with Young Justice. A character known as The Secret. You know, the one who was a ghost. Yeah, this book is the first appearance. Peter David created this girl, except they kind of had a different version of her pop up in the pages of Teen Titans, but turns out this is a more proper version of the character. Yeah, interesting they bring her in here. Though she's like trapped in the box. We also have the first mentioning in here of a character that pops up in the Lost Children book. You could say this book here is just a prologue into that very book, into Lost Children. That's kind of in a way, it's like Jeff Johns has basically have this big explanation of the whole thing related to, well, this book here also would serve as a, this book and the following book, Lost Children, would serve as a backdoor pilot into his Justice Society America book, which was really good, by the way. I still need to finish reading it. So by the end of this book, they still think Wing is dead, even though they actually suspect he actually is alive. There's stuff here with Dynamite. They They still think he's dead, and we gotta find some of our old villains, like the one with the grainer hair in a flashback. They even bring in an old Starman villain, Dr. Weird. Yeah, he's here. Shiv. Yes, a Stargirl villain who Jeff Johns basically created in the Starshine book. And this book basically brought her back into continuity. Also, the Dragon King, the stuff with Solomon Grundy. And this book featured a lot of brand new characters in this one issue alone. And of course, they've been grounded. Of course, she, of course, still thinks that her mom still thinks Wing is dead, despite the fact there's evidence to the contrary. So they break out as a flashback to Just Like America 100 with the whole unknown soldier thing. Then they basically just do a whole bunch of research related to the 7 soldiers. The mysterious 8th soldier who died. And then, of course, basically we get various people show up here. Like, yeah, so then they end up in this really good 2-page spread here of this museum. Like, we have the 7 Soldiers of Victory. We have what looks to be a lot of, like, classic characters. I see Hal Jordan. I see Black Canary. I'm not sure. I think that's Arrowlet down there. And then we have in this case here of the various Green Arrow costumes over the years. The one in the first case, that's the Golden Age Green Lantern. Excuse me, Green Arrow. Next to, I believe that's the Neil Adams version, the one with the threads across. Next to it is the Mike Grell version. I'm not sure what's next to it. And then we have various villains here. There's Clock King. There's Merlin the Archer, Count Vertigo. Various villains in this second issue. And a lot of them are statues. Yes, statues. Okay, so the green villains they have here are Bonzo the Ape Archer, Bullseye, of course, Clock King, Count Vertigo, Crimson Archer, that's the red one there, Merlin, Rainbow Archer, Red Dart, and Spider. Yes, Spider. Red Dart, old villain of Green Arrows. I believe this was one of 2. This was the original version of the character. They had the second one pop up in Jeff Lemire's Green Arrow book, who has not been featured. I don't think she's been featured since the run wrapped up. Well, she'd make one appearance in issue 4 of Joshua Williamson's run. Yeah, he brought her back here for this one book, probably as a quick cameo, but yeah. Kind of interesting, though, they basically brought this guy back. Green Arrows of the World, Archer of Japan, Archer of Arabia, Bowman Britain, Bowman of the Bush, Persona Archer, Sabar. We also first appearance here of the Newsboy Legion. Yes. We even see, okay, these are the Green Arrows of the World, which is a take on the Batman of all nations. We have Green Arrow's Arrow Car. So kind of in the way, this is like the Green Arrow Cave, which I thought was so cool. And then they take this boat, which the boat itself looks a lot like the boat from Arrow. The same boat he basically shipwrecked on an island. Which I'm sure that's probably Jeff Johns referencing Arrow. And then we see briefly Airwave. Hal Jordan's cousin. Yes. He makes appearance here, like stay away from the island. And of course we get there, and of course we have these things in suits. Then of course we meet the people of the island. We have Wing. Yes, Wing. On Orphan Island. Yeah, and then we see... Okay, so the other people here are Cherry Bomb, the sidekick to the human Baba of the Freedom Fighters, Airwave, Stargirl obviously, Robbie the Robot Dog, a sidekick to the Robert Crane Robot Man. Yes, seriously. Yeah, Jeff Johns created these lost sidekicks. Apparently no one knew they existed because they never existed prior to this one. The explanation is people forgot them. So then we see the Chill Manager. This is the woman right here who is apparently a representation of Mother Goose. Yeah. And then we see others for the Lost Children. And then we see the Blue Boys, Loomis Redhead, Molly Pitcher. There's also Betty Ross. Here's the Newsboy Legion. These are the Blue Boys. Now, you're probably thinking, Newsboy Legion, they're not new. They're basically... Now, Molly Pitcher is an original character. Original character Jeff Johns created. So, apparently she was the psychic to Miss America. Ladybug, who is another original character they created here. Psychic to Red Bee. John Henry Jr., a.k.a. apparently inspired by the first John Henry, the former slave. Where, apparently, get this, John Henry Irons, a.k.a. Steel, is his nephew. His great-nephew. You're like, really? Steel has a famous uncle who's a lost teenage version of himself? Yes! His great-uncle. You're like, what? Yeah. There's also Jimmy Martin, also known as TikTok, who apparently was a sidekick to Our Man. Yes, seriously. I am not kidding about this. They basically just retcon, brings people in. There's also Barbara Whitmore, who is basically Courtney's mom. There's also the Gambler, who is a member of the Justice Society, who made his first appearance in Green Lantern number 12. He's an old Green Lantern villain. There's, of course, Our Man. This could be Human Bomb. This was the first Human Bomb. Yes. Though, this book here, he made his first appearance in Dark Knight of the Middle. He actually died in issue 12. It's weird. So, there's also with Miss America here, the original Miss America, Joan Dale. Yeah. And there's also Red Bee, Red Lantern. Yeah, he's a character first appeared in Green Lantern 2H. And his daughter is part of the JSA. And also, he's a former boyfriend of Alan Scott. Now the Blues. Now all these characters here, like Blues Boys, they are not original characters. They debuted in Sensation Comics. This is basically Jeff Johns bringing people in. Betty Ross herself. She, of course, worked with Miss America, too. Miss Cherry Bomb. Little Miss Redhead. She works with the Blues Boys. She is not an original character in this book. She debuted in Sensation Comics in 72. Newsboy Legion. This is them basically bringing... We also have Quiz Kid. You're thinking, Quiz Kid? Yeah, apparently he worked with... Yeah, he's a original character here. There's also Salem the Witch Girl, who was a psychic to Dr. Fate, of course, TikTok, Wing, and there's also Corey Baxter. And they reference the events of Flashpoint Beyond here. Yes. The book that he made his debut in. This is the book that basically references it here. Now, he was, of course, another character who was Jeff Johns. You're basically thinking, Nick, what is up with all these characters? Like, are they original characters? No. I'd say a handful of them are. Everybody else, basically, Jeff Johns brought it in because, like, characters like the Blues Boys and Little Miss Redhead, you're like, who? And you say these were actually pre-established characters? Yes. Basically, what Jeff Johns is doing is bringing characters people probably forgot existed and bring them into current continuity because they say now everything is canon. So, this is him basically weaving these characters in. That's kind of what's happening here. And there's also this group known as the Minutemen of America, which was something that was mentioned with May 1st, 1953, which is comprised of Jimmy Martin, Torn Dyke, and Thornton Tompkins. There are people who work with the the Minutemen. Yeah, so... yeah, this guy here, old Earth 2 character, who Jeff Johns brought into the current continuity. Him along with basically the other ones, also Michael the Bee. You're thinking, who the heck is Michael the Bee? Does the Bee basically work with Red Bee? We also have debut in issue 3 of this book of a teenage girl known as the Boom. Her real name is Judy Garrick. She is the daughter of Jay Garrick, the original Flash. And some of you are thinking, wait a minute, Jay Garrick never had kids. Well, in this continuity, he did. He had a daughter named Judy. Now, when I heard the name Judy, I'm like, okay, that makes sense for a name because that's not a name you hear for girls nowadays. It's usually the name you hear for older ladies because that's an old name. Her being called Judy, in my honest opinion, makes total sense. You're like, yes. I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, it does. And like halfway through the book, they had the first proper appearance of the girl. And now Airwave in here, who is Harold Jordan Levy, he is, well, he debuted in this book and then they later put him in Power Just Like Unlimited. He is not, there's no Harold Jordan Levy. I think he's a distant relative of Hal Jordan. There's also Harold Jordan. Harold Jordan is Hal Jordan's cousin. Yeah, he debuted in The Green Lantern Annual. Yeah. And a lot of this book is basically fighting her and, of course, dealing with a little bit with... of course, Brandon Wing officially does die by the end of this miniseries. We also have the first appearance here of Pinky the Whiz Kid. Yes, Pinky the Whiz Kid, who is the psychic superhero Mr. Scarlet. Now, he made his debut, Whiz Kid, made his debut in WoW Comics number 4. You think, wait, WoW Comics? Was that a DC comic? No. WoW Comics was published by Foster Comics, which was the same comic company that published Captain Marvel. Yes, there's also Sparky. Sparky is apparently the psychic... Okay, so this guy is a tiny bit of a known character. This guy is. He has essentially put Blue Beetle's version of Bucky Barnes. And he was exclusive to Fox syndication comics. This is his first in-continuity appearance, because this guy's only appearance prior to this was only in the Fox comics, published by Sparkington Northam. That's basically his real name. Yeah, where apparently they call him a sissy. He didn't appear very much at all. His first appearance was in Blue Beetle 14, and his last appearance was in Blue Beetle 33. And that's all because Fox Syndication, I think, got back the character. So he also dresses full tuxedo was on costume. Like, it is something, though. Jeff Johns brought this guy in. Now, some of you might be thinking, how would people kind of know about this character? Well, that's thanks to Linkara. And him basically referencing this character in his Blue Beetle retrospective. I don't know if Jeff Johns saw that. I'm sure he probably someone told him, like, hey, there's this guy doing Rich Pick on Blue Beetle. We know about this. There's this guy named Sparkyton. Like, he'd be like, I'll bring him in my Lost Child comic because no one's seen him in years. True. And I was bringing the Time Masters. You're like, wait, Time Masters? Yes. And then by the end of issue 5, we had the return of the android Hourman. Who, by the way, no one has seen this guy since Flashpoint happened. Actually, he was featured in, let's see. Oh yeah, this book here was his first proper appearance in the current continuity. And he was a villain for some reason. This whole little time travel stuff. And by the end of it, they do defeat, now, they make this new group as the Young Justice Society. And pretty much everybody joins the team. And Childminder gets erased. Yeah, she pretty much is destroyed by the end of this miniseries. And then, of course, they deal with the return of the JSA, obviously, in here. And also the fact that Courtney's proven right about these lost characters. Yeah. And also with future version of Corey Baker in here, Baxter, and then the book ends with Corey basically back at the Time Master place. And then apparently the book continues, the story continues over in Just Like America number 6. After all the variant covers in this book. Yeah. This book is amazing. Oh my gosh, this book was so freaking good. I give the book a 10 out of 10. It is something, though, Jeff Johns took very obscure characters. Now, of course, the book doesn't explain where the heck these characters came from. Some people read this and like, wait, are these characters completely original? Did they exist prior to this? They did. I would recommend all these characters who popped up part of this Young Justice. Now, there's some characters who are completely original. Characters like Betty Ross, Cherry Bomb. Well, like, okay, so in the case of Airwave, Harold Jordan Levy, he is not an original character. He made his debut in Green Lantern Volume 100. So they gave him the name Levy as a nod to the original creator. So Betty Ross is original character to this continuity. Blues Boys. The three are Little Boy Blue, Louis Redhead, Tubby, Tuffy. They only have debuted in Century Comics. Dynamite is not an original character. Yeah, he made his first appearance in Starsman Comics number 7. John Henry Jr., original. Ladybug, original. Louis Redhead, not original. Century Comics 33. Molly Pitcher, original. Newsboy Legion, famous Jack Kirby creation, made a debut in Starsman War Comics number 1. Pinky the Whiz Kid, Wild Comics. Quiz Kid, I believe this one is original. This one's original character. Robin the Rubber Dog. That one's original. So Witch Girl, original. Scarlet Secret is Young Justice character. Sparky, old Blue Beetle character. Weird hit Blue Beetle comic book though. Yeah, that's kind of weird. TikTok, he is not original. Yeah, TikTok himself is not original. He is a character who first appeared in Adventure Comics 53, where he is part of the Minutemen, people associated with Hourman. And that's your new characters here. Tommy Rogers, Tuffy, and Tubby. Basically, all three of the Blues Boys. Now, you're probably asking, didn't the first issue of Cinch comic, which you only put as the first favorite comic for, so, basically, the Boys. Like, First Parents Comics, 6 Comics #1, they were one of the features in the book. Mm-hmm. So, I do think it's quite interesting Jeff Johns brought in these semi-obscure characters. I mean, some are not, but a lot of them are. Yes. Like, I recommend just doing some research on these characters, and you'll understand exactly where they come from. And if you're curious, can you find the comics? Not physically, no, you have to look digitally for these comics. There's some free sites. I'm not going to mention which ones they are because I know I'm going to shut down, but I do recommend this miniseries. It is amazing. Of course, Jeff Johns would, of course, do Just Like America right after this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was a really good book, by the way. Oh, gosh, yes, it is. And those of you curious, like, after Just Like America wrapped up, now JSA, which was later relaunched as its title, that was done by Jeff Lemire. Mm-hmm. Yeah, after a period of about 2 years, the end of the Just Like America book. I think that was his most recent book he worked on. And I don't think he's done much since then. He's mostly worked over with his new company, Ghost Machine. This probably was, I think when the Just Like America book wrapped up, that's probably when he ended his time at DC. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I guess he may feel this does DC like a feature of this stuff, they can ignore it because they have their own thing and he does his own different thing, so it's probably what goes on there. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much that particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and this like button. I'm sorry this one's very long, but I had to talk a lot about the Star Children. That took a lot of time because, well, this is a quite interesting mini-series. So that's been our video tonight. Maybe in our comic corner. Okay, thanks for you. Bye.